Here we have verse 2 of the 7th chapter of the Gospel of John. John has just told us that Jesus has been laboring in Galilee. He hasn't given us details, but he has implied in the first verse of this chapter that some time has passed. And probably some of the activities that John passes over are provided for us in other accounts in the New Testament. The Synoptic Gospels seem to fill in some of this information, but now we've skipped ahead and we reach a point where John tells us, ein. This is from eimi, I am. It's the third person singular imperfect active indicative, and so it was would be the idea, the postpositive de, but it was, or and. De can mean either one. It was engus. This means near at hand. It's an adverb, indeclinable, so it implies that something was about to take place, and in particular, we hear that it's heorte. The word heorte means a feast. This is a feminine noun. It's the nominative case here, the article with it. So it was near at hand, the feast. The feast was near. It's the feast tone, genitive, plural, masculine of Udaion, of the Jews. So near at hand was the feast of the Jews, and then in particular, in apposition, this he is in apposition to that one, meaning it's stating a parallel idea to clarify, and it happens to be skenopogia. This, by the way, is from a couple of words. Skenos is the word for a tent. It's used frequently here and there in the New Testament, sometimes implying the idea of overshadowing. The rest of it is from pegnumi. It really means it comes from the word for peg, but it is used in connection with setting up a tent, using tent pegs, that kind of thing. So was the notion of setting up tents, and it was the way of referring to the Feast of Tabernacles, or the Feast of Booths, as it was called. There were three major feasts in the Jewish calendar. The first of them was Passover, more or less launching the year. That would be the time in which there'd be planting and so on. Then you'd have Pentecost, which was a celebration of the harvest. And then this one, the third one, had to do with the finality of the year, in which there's been an ingathering, in which all of the proceeds of the previous harvest have been properly stored and so on, and now it's kind of an opportunity to celebrate the conclusion of all of that activity. And so this was a feast which was accompanied by a great deal of joy and festivity and so on, the Feast of Booths. And we're being told by John now that this particular feast is near at hand, meaning we're toward the end of the agricultural year, you might say, heading into the winter months, and this is now the framing or the setting for which the subsequent story is going to find its context.